why people can't get a job.
The job market now looks solid. Unemployment hit a 54-year low at 3.4%.
Yeah, it looks like a fucking great market. And I'm going to speak from experience. I feel like there's a million jobs out there because I keep seeing like jobs everywhere. Recruiters are reaching out to me constantly. And it's like, it feels like it's a great time to try to get a job right now. I don't understand why people say it feels impossible.
Don't think too hard about it. You'll get a headache from overthinking.
See, to overthink about it, I have to have some brain cells to begin with. I have none. There's nothing up here. It's just, there's a skull, and there's nothing inside. That's it. I mean, it's simple as that.
And U.S. employers added 2.7 million people to the payroll in 2023 alone. The January jobs report also showed the 2024 labor market was off to a solid start.
When we look at the hard data, it seems to suggest that the labor market has been fairly strong. And
yeah, and see, that's what I'm saying. It feels like the labor market is strong, especially for like what I'm doing right now. Like, I know in my field, like, I know my company currently is a bad example because going through some stuff right now. But as a whole, it's like all these other companies in my field are constantly recruiting and trying to hire people. It feels like there's a labor shortage more than it's like nobody can get a job. I really honestly feel like if you want a job, there's a job out there for you right now. Maybe this video is going to prove me wrong. We're only 27 seconds in, and I've already paused it twice. But I do believe that it does not feel impossible to get a job right now.
in fact, surprisingly resilient, especially after 2023, where we had headlines about layoffs and forecasts of recession. But when you look at the soft data, Americans tend to be a little bit less optimistic about how the economy is.
Because Americans are...
About, the job market.
Politicians just talking about how the economy's so great. I just want to scream from the rooftops. Then how come no one screamed from the roof? How the economy...
Okay. Where to start with this one? It's not about wanting to work in the food service industry. I understand there's a lot of that out there, but look at this person's title. They're a management consultant, and you've been unemployed for 4 months. Maybe you should try to look for something else than like consulting for management. It's a weird position. Like, I feel like COVID created all these...
He might not get a headache, but him explaining it is giving me a headache because I'm dumb as mud and can't understand anything you...
I'm gonna turn that off for you, Sen. I mean, Andrew. But basically, it's a lot of stuff that's like... It created all these weird positions, and now that companies are having to scale back somewhat, everyone's like, oh, I can't find a job for this weird position that was just created. Like, what is a management consultant? I have no fucking clue. To me, this job means nothing, and it doesn't make sense that it should even be a job. But I'll let the video go on.
so great. I just want to scream from the rooftops. Then how come no one can find a job?
Recently, unemployed full-time workers applied to an average of 30 jobs, only to receive an average of 4 callbacks or responses.
That right there might be because these people are applying for... But these people are applying... I'm trying not to miss stuff. These people are probably applying to jobs that, one, they're in highly competitive fields. 2, they may be under... what's the right word? Underqualified for the job. So if there's a lot of people out there looking for a job, employers are going to look for the best of the best. And sometimes, you know what? You're just not the best. I'm sorry to say it. You may be good at your job. You may even be great at your job. But sometimes there's just somebody that's just 5 times better than you. And I hate to say it. And that's why you're not getting the job. And it's not because it's impossible to get a job out there. It's just because there's people better than you out there.
If you look at the job vacancies, they're down a little bit, but not down enormously. But if you ask, how hard are you working to fill them? The answer seems to be not very right now.
So why does it feel so hard to get a job right now? And is the US labor market as strong as it seems?
And is this talking about the tech field? Because if this is talking about the tech field, I understand it's going to be hard to find a job in tech, because tech has been going through a gigantic rollback with everything with COVID. It was growing at like a 300% margin for like 2 years because everyone was using devices and tech during COVID. And now that COVID's really, to be honest, COVID just kind of stopped. So, I mean, let's be real. They've had to start scaling back. And so now they have jobs out there, but it's just brutal. It's a brutal fucking field. It was... I hate to say it. Also, the other thing is everybody wants a tech job because everybody wants to work remote from home. That's not the way things work. I think a lot of jobs can be done remote, but everybody's going after the same job because they see this tech job that pays 6 figures and you get to work remote and you get to do whatever you want, which is fantastic. But the problem is you have a lot of people vying for that job.
Hi, my name's Jenna Jackson. I'm from Ardmore, Pennsylvania, in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
This job market is like the craziest that I have ever seen.
I was frustrated just with how my job search process has been going. I haven't quantified how many applications I've applied to.
Why not? If it's so hard, why not keep track? I mean, I'm just saying, after a certain point, if you're going to say stuff like this and be hyperbolic, you need to like have something to back it up. This is my personal opinion. And also, there's a lot of jobs out there currently. The problem is you have to be willing to move for them. And a lot of people are not willing to move. So if you're not willing to move, like I said before, there are people out there that are willing to do it and will do it.
It would be a little depressing, I feel, at this point to quantify it. But it was definitely in the hundreds at least.
55% of unemployed adults said they were burnt out from searching for a new job. Younger generations were impacted the most, with 66% complaining of burnout stemming from job search.
Looking for a job can be a full-time job. There's a lot that goes into it. Filling out applications online can be tedious and can be time-consuming and can be really stressful.
Every day.
Also, maybe this is just me, and I know I'm pausing a lot, but this is just me. Maybe if you're applying mindlessly for jobs online and it's not working, maybe you try something else. It's something that I started doing when I first moved up this way into RTP where I live. I was looking for pharmaceutical jobs and I was applying a lot of places and I was getting a whole bunch of nothing. You know what I did? I tried something different. There's tech recruiters out there. There's all sorts of recruiters. Recruiters are everywhere. And I started using them. And you know what? Once I started using them, I had a job within 2 weeks. It's all about how you go about getting a job. If you just sit out here and you just post mindlessly, you just apply to jobs mindlessly on Indeed or LinkedIn or some of this stuff, most of the time they're not going to see you. So you have to do something different. You have to do something to make yourself stand out. You have to make something to make yourself special.
It just feels like Groundhog Day. You're waking up doing the same thing.
at the data, if you just applied to a job through a job board, the odds of you getting hired were about 3%. So you got to apply to a lot of different jobs in order to have
Just like I said.
I mean, you're going to get lots and lots of just no responses. And it's exhausting if you do that.
My
A
mom and
2023
Patrick
study
say
from
I'm
Glassdoor
special.
revealed that mentions of applicants being ghosted by their prospective employers grew substantially since before the COVID-19 pandemic.
We often hear from job seekers that they send out tons and tons of applications and they don't even hear back, and that can be very emotionally and mentally taxing.
It's unprofessional as well. It's like, especially if you're gonna take.
Yeah, it fucking sucks, but you know what? You put on your big boy pants and you fucking deal with it. And yes, Andrew, you are very special. Very, very special.
Time to do an interview with them, you can at least let them know.
And I think it's because of technology. It's easy to put up a job, and so many people can see that job. So when you get such an overwhelming response, it's often very difficult to get back to every single solitary candidate. Certainly during the Great Resignation, when the market was at a fever pitch, companies were being ghosted by candidates, which is something.
This right here. It's a pendulum. It's swinging both ways. This one's now swinging back in the other direction. You ghost people, they're gonna ghost you back. Oh God, is there? Okay. Another clip was in there. It's just what happens. Does it suck? Yeah, it fucking sucks. But it's just what it is. It is what it is. It's a saying that I use constantly, and it's helped me get through life. There's certain things you can't fucking control. You can't control the weather. You can't control your employers. You can't control a whole lot, but the stuff you can't control, you do. Simple as that.
Something that hadn't happened as much in the past. So we've seen it happen on both sides of the fence, and I think a lot of it is caused by just sheer volume.
The time it takes for a company to hire an employee also hit an all-time high, at an average of 44 days during the first quarter of 2020.
That's a video game.
With some industries like the energy and defense sector taking more than 67 days for hire.
Application process has been getting longer and longer, with going through multiple rounds and doing assessments. My worst experience so far was with a large financial institution where I had a phone screen with them, and I also had a Zoom interview with one of the team members. After that, I had a case study where I was given very vague instructions, and they got back to me and said that the team didn't feel like there was enough. They gave me another attempt. In the end, I just ended up just going back to the recruiter and saying, like, I'm sorry, I don't think this is the best fit.
So what I heard out of that right there, and this is me as a manager, I just heard somebody who faced adversity. They were given a situation that was intentionally going to be vague, in hopes that they would either use tools around them to help figure it out, or ask people, because sometimes they give you questions like this that they know you're not going to know the answer to, and they hope you say something. And then when you give up like this, you know what? You just proved yourself you're not a good fit for the company, because you just gave up. Instead, when the going got tough, you ran away. You didn't stick it out. You didn't try to fight through it. You fucking ran away. I'm tired of this whole attitude like this. It's fucking crazy.
Because even if I did move forward and they were okay with my revision, there still would have been 3 more interviews.
A lot of employers think that doing more interviews is a good thing, and it's not a good thing. Most job interviews are not doing anything important. They don't know that the questions they're asked.
I think it's debatable, because I think sometimes what interviews are for, like, I think probably 2 to 3 interviews is like the highest you should go. Probably 2 is about where you should be. Because, like, and I think I understand what he's going to say, but my opinion on interviews is I ask a question and I'm looking for a response, a certain type of response from them. It doesn't matter if they get the right answer or the wrong answer. It's how they go about getting to the answer if it's a problem that I have. It's like, let's say I have, put this into my field. There's a problem with this machine over here. I tell you what's wrong with it. How do you fix it? And then listen to their train of thought about how they go through working through how to fix it. It tells me a lot more about the person than just asking like generalized questions would. It's simple as that. And then sometimes I feel like some of these companies do 5 interviews to see if you're dedicated, to see if you really want this job. It's a way to filter people out. Do I agree with it? No, but they are hiring. It's their prerogative to do it. Simple as that.
Asking are going to reveal anything about whether you're a good candidate or not. They don't know when they ask the question what the right answer is. And this is a development that's been going on for a while. It's not a good thing for anybody. And even if the labor market was stronger, you would still be seeing some of this.
There are generally 2 terms economists use to describe the state of the job market: tight and loose.
Usually when economists talk about a tight labor market, they mean hot, essentially. Mostly what that means is it is difficult for employers to find workers. And so in that context, employers tend to be more hesitant to lay off workers. They tend to try to be more aggressive about how they hire, whether that means offering bonuses or offering on-the-job training. By contrast, a loose labor market or cold labor market is one where there might be layoffs, it might be hiring freezes, it might be difficult to find a job for workers who are either already in the workforce or workers who are trying to enter the workforce for the first time.
The American labor market has remained extremely tight following the end of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So many companies had to scale back during the pandemic, and then all at once, companies were able to hire again as their businesses started to move. So you had so many job openings happening all at the same time.
Job openings.
Yeah. And it really is an employee's market right now. There's not enough people to fill these positions. Sometimes, I hate to say it, this goes back to, this is an old saying from an old movie that I used to, it was an old movie, filmed here in North Carolina about actually a baseball team here in North Carolina called Bull Durham. Oh no. Sorry, thinking of the wrong movie. Actually, I take that back. This was from Caddyshack. Strike that. It said the world needs fuck, just scratch that altogether. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's been a long day. This was an old saying that my grandfather used to say to me. Now that I fucking remember what the hell it was. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm too old. But basically, it's the world needs ditch diggers. Not everyone can be a manager. Not everyone can have a 6-figure job. Not everyone can do this. Sometimes you need people who can do this job right here, this $15 an hour job. And the fact that it's gotten up to $15 an hour now is actually a lot better than what it has been in the past. Used to be a job like this would possibly just be absolutely like minimum wage like it is here, where it's like $7.85 an hour or $7.15 an hour. It's like double that. Granted, like $15 an hour is not a quote-unquote living wage. But yeah, they're paying $18 an hour to work at the gas station. When I was growing up, I would have killed to get a job that was paying $18 to work at the gas station. Used to be, I bagged groceries at the food line here, and I made $6.50 an hour. I fucking killed myself out in the middle of the fucking southern heat and during hurricanes, doing all this shit for basically nothing. Because that's what I had to do to get a job. $18 is more than my first job that I had straight out of community college. My first job was I worked in a chemical plant, and I worked in quality control. I made $11.50 an hour, and I thought that was good money at the time. I was living by myself, had my own place, and I did a lot on that amount of money. This was holy shit. That was 15 years ago. I can't believe it was 15 years ago. But yeah, that hurts. That is what it is. And that was a very dangerous job. There was a couple opportunities where I thought I may die. And I was doing this for $11 an hour. Now people are complaining about taking a job working at a McDonald's or something like that, maybe just temporarily until you can find another job. Like, the other thing is, you don't have to stay unemployed. You could go get another job in the meantime. There's plenty of other people that are paying like $20 an hour to do something. $20 an hour is not something to scoff at. I mean, let's be real, people.
Surged to historic highs, while the country continued to struggle from a devastating labor shortage. With so many plentiful job prospects, even working Americans quit their jobs at a record pace.
I understand balking at the Amazon warehouse, though.
But the job market is beginning to show signs of cooling.
There's less of a frenzy on the part of the employers. If you're somebody who wants a job, you would like a frenzy on the part of the employers.
Talking about the labor market cooling, I think part of that is due to things from COVID are finally starting to come back down to earth. So everything kind of shrunk initially with COVID. Tech blew up, but like everything else kind of shrunk down. Then when everything started to loosen up, it kind of expanded out because everybody's like, oh my God, I can do everything now. People were going out and doing that. Now things are starting to return to a new normal. So everything's kind of condensing and shrinking back down to where it should be. It is tough. But the thing is, you just have to look for different things. And I mean, hate to say it, let's say you had a tech degree and you were making this much money. Well, guess what? It's a very saturated market with people that are competing against you. Maybe what you do, you go to a community college for 2 years. You work just a $20 an hour job, $25 an hour job somewhere, maybe 18 to 20, something simple. You go to community college for a year and a half. You get out of community college with a tech degree. You know what? You start off making 60, 70,000 grand just starting immediately. You basically invested like $6,000 and now you're making $70,000. And that's at the entry level. And all you have to go from there is up. Is it as glamorous as your tech job? Do you get to work from home? No. But you have a job, and it's a job that, let's be real, is more immune to these sorts of changes in the labor market.
Because you would like to have lots of people trying to hire you.
I think one interesting thing about the job market right now is that it is strong, but the hiring rate is low, and similarly, the layoff rate is actually very low.
The layoff and discharge rate in the U.S. has been hovering near historic lows, despite the barrage of layoffs reported specifically within the more visible
That's
tech
in the
industries.
tech
So I
industries.
think what might be going on here is that employers are hesitant to lay off off workers. They're hesitant to push workers out because of their recent experience with labor shortages. But on the flip side, that also means that a lot of workers are sitting tight. They're not quitting, they're not being laid off. And so there aren't as many of those opportunities you would normally expect from attrition for folks who are trying to break into those roles.
Meanwhile, research from LinkedIn found that job seekers' search intensity in the US grew by 27% in 2023 compared to the year before. In 2022, there was one open job for every active applicant on the LinkedIn platform. By 2023, the ratio turned to one job for every 2 active applicants.
Right now in the marketplace, what we're seeing is both employers and employees being a little bit more selective. Everybody's taking a little bit more of a measured approach right now, being a little bit more selective in their choices, and that's why we've seen a little bit of a cooling in the marketplace.
However, experts reassure that the cooling labor market is no reason for concern yet.
It is important to have a perspective that's a little more historical on this. You know, if you're hunting for a job right now and you can't find one, it looks like a lousy job market to you. But compared to your parents' experience, it's a great job market.
I think that sentiment is outcomes minus expectation.
Exactly. I'm seeing this as a great job market currently. Is it as good as it could be? No, probably not. But it is a good job market. The problem is there's always going to be certain fields that are always going to be more popular than others. Simple as that. No ifs, ands, or buts. No arguments there. Right now, that's tech. Everybody wants to work in tech because they can work wherever they want and they can go off the grid, stuff like that, and just be remote. And that's what people want right now. But guess what? You don't get that. That's not something that's like, not something you can do all the time. Yeah, I don't know what people want. I mean, I didn't used to be, but I've been coming around to the idea of a universal basic income. I am coming around to this idea. I used to be extremely opposed to it, and the more and more I sit out here and do stuff, the more and more I think it's something that could be feasible.
So in 2021, 2022, there were labor shortages, companies were hiring very aggressively, and so even if 2024 is shaping up to be a relatively healthy labor market, by recent comparison, it doesn't feel quite as strong.
A cool down in the labor market was also what the Federal Reserve had intended with its series of interest rate hikes.
If you are the Federal Reserve and you want to slow the economy down, that means you want to slow the markets down a bit. The biggest market is the labor market. You know, if you look at what employers do, where their budget is, it's mainly going to labor. So you can't easily cool the economy down unless you cool the labor market down.
Experts also noted that the health of the labor market will largely rely on where the economy is headed next.
If the economy does slow down more significantly in 2024, if we see a recession in 2024, the labor market can be somewhat resilient, but it can't fully buck the broader economic trends. And so that's definitely something we want to watch out for in 2024. It's not a guarantee that the job market is going to.
And to speak, I'm no economist, but I will say this. Recessions are not, I really feel like it's a cycle. It's something that's normal. You go through periods where everything is booming and all this stuff, and then things kind of cool back down a little bit. Then you kind of hit an equilibrium. Then you sit in that equilibrium for a little bit, like right as you're coming out of a recession. You sit in that equilibrium a little bit, then things get really good, and you start up on the roller coaster. You start going up on the roller coaster again. You start going up to the top, and then you hit the bottom and you drop, and it's like a roller coaster, kind of like that. And then the whole cycle begins again. It's just how the world is.
To remain as strong. Broadly speaking, we might have some optimism about the economy. That doesn't necessarily mean that the job search is an easy process.
I guess the big thing I would say is it's not you. You know, it's not you. It's happening to thousands of other hundreds of thousands of people.
But it might be you. You may not be presenting yourself to be the best possible candidate for this position. Simple as that. To say it's somebody else, some nameless, faceless corporation all the time is, I think, a little irresponsible. Do I think it does have some bearing? Yeah. But at the end of things, it may be your fault.
At the same time, and it has to do with what's going on in the bigger economy. It has to do with uncertainty, but it also has to do with a lot of quirkiness inside employers about how they handle hiring these days.
It's definitely difficult out there, but I just encourage you not to give up and still keep diving into your network and stay tight with family and friends, just to give you, the emotional support that you might be lacking at the moment, and to give you that confidence that you can do it.
I will say, for the most part, this was a good video. One of the biggest things that I can say to do that will help you substantially in this is to network. You need to network. Whenever you're at a job, make friends, meet up with people on LinkedIn, create yourself a network, because you never know when you're going to run across people again, or when, you're going to need somebody. It's simple as that. Like, I've talked about, pharmaceuticals is a large field, but it's also a very small field at the same time. It's really crazy. Like, I came from a smaller town that had 2 pharmaceutical companies. And I've moved up here about 2.5 hours away. And you know what? RTP is a huge fucking area, and it has a lot of pharmaceutical companies. And I mean a lot. I have run into at least 15 people from my previous jobs, all different at different locations. I keep running into people, and I keep this networking field up because you never know, like, hey, maybe this is where I'm able to, somebody got a managerial position. They've worked with me in the past. They had a good experience with me. They're able to bring me on. They're able to help nudge it in my direction. Networking is a humongous thing in trying to find one of these jobs. Thank you for watching the video. Please smash that like and subscribe button below. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, have a great wolfing day. Rough.